Jake Collins sat in the cold metal chair and stared at the 7 alien faces across the curved table. The Galactic Council chamber was huge and dark, with strange lights that hurt human eyes. Jake had been coming here for 3 years now, always, hoping things would get better for humanity. Today felt different, though. Today felt like the end. The lead alien was called Vextara. She looked like a giant lizard that learned to walk on 2 legs. Her skin was green and bumpy, and when she talked, her voice came out in angry hisses that the translator turned into words. Next to her sat 6 other creatures from different worlds, all looking down at Jake like he was some kind of bug they wanted to step on. Lisa Murphy sat behind Jake, typing notes on her tablet. She was young and smart, fresh out of the diplomatic academy. This was her first big assignment, and Jake could see her hands shaking a little. He did not blame her. This room was designed to make humans feel small and scared. "The human species has caused enough trouble," Vextara said, her yellow eyes never leaving Jake's face. "Your people expand too fast. You build too many ships. You ask too many questions. The Council has decided that humanity needs to be controlled." Jake kept his face calm, but inside he felt his heart beating faster. For 3 years, the Council have been making life harder for humans. First they said humans could only visit certain star systems. Then they put limits on how many colonies humans could build. Last year they started boarding human ships and taking whatever they wanted, calling it safety inspections. "What exactly are you asking for?" Jake said, even though he already knew the answer would be bad. Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a giant spider with too many eyes. "We are not asking, human, we are telling. These are the terms your species must accept." A holographic screen appeared in the air between them. Jake read the words and felt his stomach drop. The Council wanted humanity to give up their entire military fleet. Every warship, every defense platform, every weapon that could protect human worlds. They also wanted all human terraforming technology, the machines that turned dead planets into places where people could live. Furthermore, Vextara continued, humans will accept permanent status as a restricted species. You will not be allowed to vote in council matters. Your expansion into new systems will require our permission. Your trade will be monitored and controlled. Lisa stopped typing. Jake heard her take a sharp breath behind him. He did not turn around, but he could imagine the shock on her face. "And if we refuse?" Jake asked. "Then your species will be declared a threat to galactic peace," said a third alien, one that looked like a walking tree with glowing bark. "We will use force to make you comply." Jake looked at each council member slowly. He had worked with some of these beings before, back when things were better. He had thought some of them were almost friends. Now he saw the truth in their eyes. They were not interested in working with humans. They wanted to control humans, to make them slaves in all but name. "I see," Jake said quietly. "And these terms are final?" "Completely final," Vextara hissed. "The Council has spent months discussing this. We have been very patient with your species, but that patience is over. You have 72 hours to accept these terms and begin the process of surrender." Jake stood up slowly. His legs felt heavy, like he was walking through thick mud. Behind him, Lisa gathered her things with shaking hands. The 2 humans walked toward the exit while the 7 aliens watched them go. "Ambassador Collins," Vextara called out when they reached the door, "I hope you will make the right choice. It would be unfortunate if humanity chose the path of destruction." Jake stopped and turned back. For just a moment, his calm mask slipped, and the aliens saw something in his eyes that made them shift uncomfortably in their seats. It was not fear or sadness. It was something much more dangerous. "I understand completely," Jake said. "Humanity will certainly make a choice." Outside the chamber, Lisa finally found her voice. "Sir, what are we going to do? These terms are impossible. If we give up our fleet, we'll be helpless. If we surrender, our terraforming technology will never be able to build new colonies. They're asking us to accept slavery." Jake pulled out his communication device as they walked down the long corridor. The walls were covered with pictures of great moments, in galactic history. Treaties signed, wars ended, species welcomed into the galactic community. Jake wondered if there would ever be a picture of humans up there, or if humanity would always be seen as a problem to be solved. "Lisa," he said as he typed a coded message, "do you remember your history lessons about Earth's old wars?" "Some of them, sir. Why?" There was an old saying. "Diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way." For 3 years, I've been trying to find a way to let the Council think they were winning while actually protecting human interests. I thought if I was patient enough, smart enough, I could find a solution that worked for everyone. They reached the transport pad that would take them back to the human embassy. Jake's message was sent, encrypted with codes that only a few people on Earth would understand. He looked back at the Council chamber one last time. "But some people don't want solutions," he continued. "They want submission. The Council doesn't want to work with humanity. They want to break us. So what do we do?" Lisa asked. Jake stepped onto the transport pad. "We go home. We tell our people what happened here, and then we let them decide how to respond." The transport carried them away from the Council building, through the alien city with its strange architecture and impossible colors. Lisa watched the buildings pass by, thinking about the message Jake had sent. She had seen the code he used. It was not a request for instructions or a plea for help. It was an activation code. As their ship prepared to leave the Council world, Jake stood at the window and looked down at the planet below. 3 years of his life had been spent in that chamber, trying to find peace between humans and aliens. 3 years of compromise and patience and hope. All of it had just ended. The Council thought they had won. They thought they had finally put humanity in its place. They had no idea what was coming next. They had never bothered to learn the most important thing about humans. When humans stop talking, they start doing something else entirely. Dr. Linda Hayes packed the last of her medical equipment into a sealed container and placed it in the cargo bay. Around her, the research lab that had been her home for 5 years was empty and silent. The alien diseases she had been studying were locked away in secure storage. The treatments she had developed were being deleted from the computers. Her alien assistant stood nearby, watching with confusion and growing fear. "Dr. Hayes, please explain what is happening," said Ziktar, the insectoid researcher who had worked with her for 3 years. His compound eyes reflected the harsh lights of the lab, and his translator made his voice sound worried. "The human embassy said all humans must leave immediately. Surely there is some mistake." Linda sealed the container and activated the lock. "No mistake, Ziktar. The Galactic Council has made their decision about humanity. We are complying with their wishes. But your work here saves thousands of lives every year." Ziktar clicked his mandibles in distress. "The treatment for Rigel fever alone has prevented 3 major epidemics. Without human medical knowledge, many of our people will die." Linda picked up her personal bag and walked toward the exit. "The Council believes humans are too dangerous to possess advanced technology. They want us restricted and controlled. We are simply giving them what they ask for." Across the station, similar scenes played out in every human facility. Engineer Bob Martinez was shutting down the fusion reactor that powered half the trading hub. The reactor was human-designed and built, and only humans knew how to maintain it properly. Bob had trained alien technicians for 2 years, but they still could not handle the complex systems without human supervision. "Martinez, you cannot leave the reactor like this," said Station Commander Yulanex, a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. "If it fails, we will lose life support for over 1 million beings." Bob sealed the reactor control panel and pocketed the access codes. "I've left detailed shutdown procedures. The reactor will run on automatic for about 6 months, before it needs major maintenance. After that, you'll need to find your own solution." "But we don't know how to perform that maintenance," Yulanex said, his voice rising in panic. "The technology is beyond our understanding." "Then maybe you should have thought about that before letting the Council threaten us," Bob replied. He shouldered his tool bag and walked away, leaving the alien commander staring at the sealed control panel. Captain Amy Foster sat in the command center of the Human Security Office, watching her team pack up their equipment. For 4 years, humans had provided security consulting for the station's law enforcement. They had trained alien officers, designed patrol schedules, and created crime prevention programs. Now all of that was ending. "Captain Foster," said Chief McVal, the station's head of security, "my officers are not ready to handle security without human guidance. Crime rates have dropped by 60% since you arrived. If you leave now, we will have chaos." Amy looked at the crime statistics on her screen. Bank robberies were down 80% because humans had redesigned the security systems. Smuggling was almost eliminated because humans had created new detection methods. Violence in the lower levels had decreased because humans had established community outreach programs. "Chief, I've prepared a full report on station security vulnerabilities," Amy said, handing him a datapad. "Everything you need to know is in there. Of course, implementing these measures will require the same human expertise that the Council has decided is too dangerous to allow." McVal took the pad with trembling hands. "Please, Captain, we can work something out. The Council's decision does not have to affect our cooperation here." "I'm sorry, Chief, I have my orders. All humans are to return to human space immediately, no exceptions." The withdrawal was happening on hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Teacher Carol White was leaving her classroom on an educational planet, taking with her the new learning methods that had improved alien student performance by 40%. Scientist Don Cooper was abandoning his research station along with the breakthrough discoveries that had advanced alien technology by decades. Trade specialist Julie Brown was closing her office, taking with her the economic models that had made entire sectors profitable on the planet New Centauri. Human agricultural expert Mike Johnson was watching his alien assistants try to operate the farming equipment he had designed. The planet's food production had tripled since humans arrived, but the complex systems required constant human supervision. "Mr. Johnson, please stay just a few more months," begged Agriculture Minister Plexara. "The harvest season is coming. Without your guidance, we might lose 70% of our crops." Mike climbed into the shuttle that would take him to the departing human transport. "Minister, I've left instruction manuals for all the equipment. If your people study them carefully, they might be able to maintain current production levels." "Might be?" Plexara's voice was filled with panic. "Mr. Johnson, you know our people cannot understand human technology without direct training. These manuals are written in technical language that our translators cannot properly convert." "Then I suggest you learn quickly," Mike said as the shuttle door closed. The Council wanted humans to have restricted access to advanced technology. This is what that looks like. Admiral Pete Harrison stood on the bridge of the UES Endeavour, watching the final human ships leave alien space. His fleet had been protecting 3 major trade routes for 6 years, keeping pirates and raiders away from civilian traffic. Now the trade routes were undefended, and reports were already coming in of attacks on merchant vessels. "Admiral," said Communications Officer Tom Bradley, "we're receiving hundreds of messages from alien governments. They're asking us to reconsider our withdrawal. Some are offering significant concessions." Pete looked at the star map showing human ships converging on the border of human space. "Tell them to contact the Galactic Council. We're not authorized to negotiate anymore." "Sir, the Vorthan Trade Federation is offering to double our contract payment. The Andorian Commerce Guild is promising exclusive trading rights. The Outer Rim Coalition is even offering to share their defensive technology." "Too late," Pete said. "They had their chance to treat us as equals. Instead, they stood by while the Council decided to put us in chains." The withdrawal was complete within 72 hours. Every human diplomat, scientist, engineer, teacher, doctor, and security consultant had left alien space. They took with them not just their expertise, but all the knowledge, techniques, and innovations that had made alien civilization function better on Earth. President Susan Clark received the final report from Admiral Harrison. The withdrawal was successful, and humanity was now consolidated in their own territory. But the aliens were already beginning to understand what they had lost. "Ma'am," said her aide, Secretary Johnson, "we're receiving desperate communications from alien governments. Power grids are failing, medical facilities are shutting down. Trade routes are being attacked, they're asking for emergency assistance." President Clark looked out the window at the lights of the capital city. "Tell them we're no longer available for consultation." The Council made it clear that human involvement in galactic affairs is unwelcome. Some of them are offering to oppose the Council's decision if we return. "Too late for that," the President said. "They should have opposed it before we left. Now they'll learn what happens when you take human cooperation for granted." The Great Withdrawal was complete, but it was only the beginning of humanity's response to the Council's ultimatum. President Susan Clark stood in the underground command center beneath the capital city, watching the massive holographic displays that showed human space. Ships were arriving at Earth every hour, bringing back the humans who had been scattered across the galaxy, but this was not a retreat. This was preparation for something much bigger. "Report," she said to the room full of military officers and government officials. General Kevin Brooks stepped forward with a datapad in his hands. "All personnel have been withdrawn from alien space as ordered. We've had 0 casualties and 0 incidents. The aliens let us leave without any trouble because they think we're giving up." "Good. What about our hidden assets?" "All deep cover operatives remain in place. They're positioned in key locations throughout alien space. The aliens have no idea they're there." Secretary of Defense Monica Lee spoke up from her position at the main console. "Industrial production is running at maximum capacity. Every shipyard, every factory, every research facility is working around the clock. We're building ships faster than we ever have before." President Clark nodded and walked to the central display. It showed the 7 worlds that controlled the Galactic Council. Each world was marked with detailed information about population, military strength, and defensive capabilities. "How long until we're ready?" 6 months, General Brooks replied. "Maybe less if we push the production schedules." Dr. Alan Carter, the head of human weapons development, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I have good news about the new weapon systems. The quantum disruptors are ready for mass production. The irony is beautiful. We learned the theoretical physics from Council scientists, who thought we were too stupid to understand what they were teaching us." "Explain." "The aliens shared their advanced physics with us because they believed humans could only use it for peaceful purposes. They never imagined we would weaponize quantum field manipulation. Our new weapons can tear apart alien ships at the molecular level." President Clark smiled coldly. "And they have no defense against these weapons?" "None. The technology is based on their own scientific principles, but applied in ways they never considered. When we attack, their shields will be useless." Captain Ron Mitchell, the head of Special Operations, stepped forward. "Ma'am, our intelligence assets report that the Council is planning a celebration. They believe they've solved the human problem without firing a single shot. They think we're broken and defeated. Perfect. Let them celebrate. What about potential allies?" "The Centauri Federation is secretly providing us with raw materials," General Brooks said. "They're tired of Council control but too afraid to act openly. Several smaller species have made quiet contact, but they won't commit to anything until they see how strong we really are." Intelligence Director Sarah Johnson activated a new display showing alien communication intercepts. "The aliens are starting to panic. Their infrastructure is failing without human maintenance. Their economies are collapsing without human trade expertise. Their security forces are overwhelmed without human training. Are they trying to contact us? Constantly. We're receiving thousands of messages every day. Pleas for help, offers of negotiation, promises of better treatment. We're ignoring all of them." President Clark walked around the room, studying the faces of her advisors. These were the people who would help her make the most important decision in human history. "What's the mood among our returning personnel?" "Angry," Monica Lee said simply. "Very angry." They spent years building relationships with aliens, helping them, teaching them, protecting them. The Council's ultimatum felt like a betrayal. They want revenge? And our military? General Brooks straightened. Ready for war, ma'am. The troops understand what's at stake. If we let the Council get away with this, humanity will never be safe. We'll always be at the mercy of aliens who see us as a threat to be controlled. Dr. Carter activated another display showing weapon production statistics. We're not just building ships and weapons. We're building an entire war machine. Automated factories, self-repairing systems, artificial intelligence that can manage complex battles without human oversight. We're becoming something the galaxy has never seen before. Which is? A species that's completely self-sufficient and technologically superior. For decades, the aliens saw us as useful junior partners. They never realized we were learning from them, improving on their ideas, becoming better than they are. President Clark returned to the central display and stared. At the Council worlds, the aliens made one critical mistake. They assumed that because we were peaceful, we were weak. They thought that because we preferred cooperation, we were incapable of war. They're about to learn the difference, Captain Mitchell said. Our psychological profiles show that humans are actually more dangerous when we're angry than when we're afraid. Fear makes us careful, anger makes us creative. What do you mean? We're not just planning to defeat the Council, we're planning to make an example of them. Every alien species in the galaxy will understand that humanity is not to be threatened again. Sarah Johnson brought up new intelligence reports. The Council members are starting to argue among themselves. Some of them are having second thoughts about the ultimatum. They're beginning to realize that humans were more important to galactic civilization than they understood. Too late for regrets, the President said. They had their chance to treat U.S. as equals. Communications Officer Lisa Brown spoke up from her station. Ma'am, we're detecting increased alien military activity. It looks like they're preparing for the possibility that we might not surrender. Numbers? Nothing compared to what we're building. They have more ships than us, but their technology is decades behind ours now. Plus, they have to defend hundreds of worlds. We only need to attack 7. President Clark looked at her watch. 3 months had passed since Ambassador Collins walked out of the Council chamber. The aliens thought they were waiting for humanity to surrender. Instead, they were watching humanity transform into something unprecedented. Status of Project Nightfall? Captain Mitchell smiled grimly. Ready to execute on your command. We've identified every critical system on every Council world. When we strike, we'll take out their communications, their defenses, their government centers, and their military command structure simultaneously. And after we win? That depends on how. Much resistance they put up, General Brooks said. If they surrender quickly, we might let them keep their worlds under human supervision. If they fight back, we'll need to be more direct about establishing control. President Clark made her decision. Send word to all fleet commanders. We move. In 3 months. The galaxy wanted to see humanity restricted and controlled. Instead, they're going to see humanity unleashed. The room fell silent as everyone understood the magnitude of what was about to happen. For the first time in galactic history, humans would stop trying to get along with everyone else. They would stop being patient and diplomatic and reasonable. The Council had broken the rules of civilization by threatening humanity with slavery. Now humanity would show them what happened when those rules no longer applied. The preparation was almost complete. Soon, the galaxy would learn the most important lesson about humans. They were much more dangerous as enemies than they had ever been as friends. Council Speaker Vexthara stared at the disaster reports covering her desk and felt something she had never experienced before, true fear. 6 months had passed since the humans left, and the galactic economy was collapsing faster than anyone had predicted. What had seemed like a brilliant solution to the human problem was turning into the worst crisis in galactic history. Tell me about the Rigel system, she said to her aide Klippenex, who was nervously shuffling through datapads. Complete power grid failure 3 days ago, Klippenex reported, his feathers ruffling with anxiety. 17 worlds are now running on emergency backup systems. The humans who maintained the central fusion reactor took all the technical documentation when they left. Our best engineers can't figure out how to restart it. Vexthara's scales darkened with worry. How many beings are affected? 4 billion. They have maybe 2 weeks of emergency power left. After that, life support systems will start failing. The door chimed and Defense Coordinator Nexvala entered without waiting for permission. His usually calm demeanor was completely gone, replaced by barely controlled panic. "Speaker, we have a massive problem. Our intelligence networks in 12 sectors have gone completely dark." "What do you mean, dark?" "I mean we have no information about what's happening in those regions." The humans who worked as our intelligence consultants didn't just leave. They took their knowledge with them. We're realizing that we don't know how to gather information without their techniques. Vexthara stood up and walked to the window overlooking the council city. The streets below were filled with protesters from dozens of alien species, all demanding that the council fix the crisis. "Surely you're exaggerating the situation." "I wish I were." The humans didn't just participate in our intelligence operations. They designed them. Every surveillance method, every analysis technique, every communication intercept system was built with human expertise. Without them, we're blind. Another aide rushed into the room carrying urgent messages. "Speaker, emergency report from the Outer Rim. The trade routes are under constant attack. Pirate raids have increased by 300% since the human security forces withdrew." "What about our own security forces?" "Overwhelmed. The humans trained our officers and designed our patrol schedules. Without their guidance, we're back to pre-contact security levels. The pirates know this and they're taking advantage." Vexthara felt her heart sinking. "Economic report?" "Catastrophic," Klippanex said, pulling up holographic displays. "The Andorian Commerce Guild filed for bankruptcy yesterday. It turns out that 80% of their profits came from human-designed trading algorithms. Without human oversight, their entire fleet is flying blind through space. The Centauri Manufacturing Consortium is shutting down half their factories," another aide added. "They can't operate the human-built machinery without human technicians." "The Vorthen Medical Institute closed its doors this morning," said a third aide. "They were treating diseases across 50 star systems using human-developed treatments. Without human doctors to supervise the procedures, they're afraid of killing their patients." Vexthara turned back to her desk and activated the communication system. "Get me reports from all council worlds. I want to know exactly how bad this situation is." For the next hour, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Each one was worse than the last. The Nexus Agricultural Collective was facing food shortages because their farms couldn't operate without human expertise. The Spiral Arm Transportation network was in chaos because human traffic controllers were no longer managing the complex shipping routes. The Galactic University system was closing departments because human professors had taken their knowledge with them. "This is impossible," Vexthara said, but her voice lacked conviction. "One species cannot be this important to galactic civilization." "Apparently they can," Nexvala replied grimly. "We never realized how much we depended on human innovation. They weren't just participants in our society. They were holding it together." The communication system activated and reports began coming in from the council worlds themselves. On Nexus Prime, the capital city's transportation system was failing because human engineers had designed the traffic management systems. On Veltar, the planetary defense grid was offline because human technicians had maintained the early warning sensors. On Kreshinok, the atmospheric processors were beginning to malfunction because human scientists had optimized their operation. "How is this possible?" Vexthara demanded. "We've been a galactic civilization for thousands of years. Humans have only been in space for a few decades." "That's exactly why this is happening," said a new voice from the doorway. Council member Zarthik entered, his crystalline form glowing with agitation. "Because humans were new, they approached our problems with fresh ideas. They saw solutions that we had missed for centuries." Explain. "Human brains work differently than ours. They see patterns we miss." They ask questions we never thought to ask. They combine technologies in ways we never imagined. We thought we were teaching them, but they were improving everything we showed them. Clip&X pulled up another report. Speaker, the situation is getting worse. We're receiving reports of social unrest on 47 worlds. Civilian populations are demanding that we bring the humans back. And what about the humans themselves? Are they responding to our communications? No, we've sent thousands of messages to human space. Apologies, explanations, requests for emergency assistance. They're not answering any of them. Vexthara felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean, not answering? I mean complete communications blackout. Any ship that approaches human space receives a single automated message. Humanity is no longer interested in negotiations. Then they're turned away. Have we tried sending official diplomatic envoys? 3 times. Each time the message was the same. The humans won't talk to us. Nextvala stepped forward. Speaker, there's something else. Our long-range sensors are detecting unusual activity in human space. Massive construction projects, but we can't get close enough to see what they're building. What kind of construction? Unknown. Our scouts report huge energy signatures and material movements on a scale we've never seen before. It's like they're building something enormous, but we have no idea what. Vexthara sat down heavily in her chair. Could they be preparing to surrender? Maybe they're building facilities to comply with our demands? That's what we hoped at first, Nextvala said. But the energy patterns don't match industrial construction. They match military buildup. The room fell silent. For the first time since the ultimatum, Vexthara began to understand the magnitude of their mistake. The Council had assumed that humans were weak because they preferred cooperation. They had thought that humans were harmless because they avoided conflict. What? If we were wrong, she whispered. Wrong about what? Clip&X asked. Wrong about everything. What if humans weren't avoiding conflict because they were weak? What if they were avoiding conflict because they were strong? Zothic's crystalline form flickered with understanding. You mean they were being peaceful by choice, not by necessity? Exactly. And now we've taken away their choice. Another aide burst into the room. Speaker, urgent priority message from the Outer Rim. 3 alien fleets have gone missing in the neutral zone near human space. No distress calls, no wreckage, no trace of what happened to them. Vexthara's blood turned to ice. How many ships? Over 200 vessels, they just vanished. For the first time since becoming Council Speaker, Vexthara began to wonder if the Council had made a mistake that would destroy them all. The humans had been their partners, their teachers, their protectors. Now they were something else entirely. The galaxy was about to learn what humans became when they stopped being friends. Admiral Pete Harrison stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution and watched the largest human battle fleet in history move through space toward the Council worlds. 6 months of preparation had led to this moment. Around him, displays showed hundreds of human warships equipped with weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Today, humanity would teach the universe a lesson about the cost of arrogance. All fleets report ready, Admiral, Communications Officer Amy Foster announced from her station. Her voice was calm, but Pete could see the determination in her eyes. Every human in this fleet had friends and colleagues who had been forced to abandon their work because of the Council's ultimatum. Signal all ships, Pete said. Remember, we're not here to conquer, we're here to teach. The attack began at exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time across all 7 Council worlds simultaneously. Human ships appeared out of hyperspace with perfect coordination, their quantum disruptors charged and ready. The weapons that Dr. Carter had developed did more than destroy enemy vessels. They prevented the aliens from sending distress calls, creating pockets of absolute silence around each target on the Council homeworld of Nexus Prime. Speaker Vexthara was in an emergency meeting when the alarms started screaming. Through the windows of the Council chamber, she could see human ships materializing in the sky like deadly silver stars. The planetary defense grid tried to respond, but the human weapons tore through the shields as if they were made of paper. "This is impossible," Defense Coordinator Nexvala whispered as he watched the displays. "Their weapons are cutting through our defenses like they don't exist. How many ships?" Vexthara demanded. "Hundreds, maybe thousands. They're everywhere." At once. Captain Ron Mitchell led the assault on the government district, his Marines moving through the alien capital with mechanical precision. They knew exactly where to strike because they had helped design the security systems years earlier. Every defensive position, every escape route, every hidden entrance had been mapped by humans who were supposedly helping to protect the Council. "Secure the communications center," Ron ordered through his helmet radio. "Cut all outgoing transmissions. I want complete information blackout." His soldiers moved like ghosts through the alien city. The Council's security forces tried to respond, but they were using tactics and equipment that humans had designed. Every strategy they attempted had already been anticipated and countered. Within hours, the most secure building on the most protected world in the galaxy was under human control. Vexthara found herself trapped in the Council chamber with 6 other Council members, watching through the windows as human forces surrounded the building. The ease with which humanity had taken control was terrifying. These were not the peaceful negotiators who had sat across from her 6 months ago. These were soldiers who had planned this assault down to the smallest detail. "We have to surrender," whispered Council member Yelanara, a small mammalian creature whose fur was standing on end with fear. "They've won. We cannot fight this." "How?" Nexvala asked. "They've cut our communications. We can't even contact our own forces, let alone theirs." The main door to the chamber opened and Captain Mitchell entered with 2 of his soldiers. His face was hidden behind advanced armor, but his voice came through external speakers with cold authority. "Council Speaker Vexthara, you and your colleagues will come with us." "This is madness," Vexthara said, but her voice shook with fear. "You cannot just attack the galactic government. There are rules, laws, treaties." "You made those rules irrelevant when you threatened humanity with slavery," Mitchell replied. "You wanted to see what humans look like when we stop being civilized." "Congratulations." The Council members were escorted through their own building, past human soldiers who had secured every floor. Outside, the alien city was strangely quiet. Human forces had taken control of all major systems without causing unnecessary destruction. This was not random violence. This was surgical precision applied on a planetary scale. They were brought to the main communications center, where a holographic projector had been set up. President Susan Clark's image appeared, her expression harder than steel. Behind her, the other Council members could see the command center where humanity had planned this entire operation. "The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved," President Clark announced without preamble. "You had your chance to coexist peacefully with humanity. You chose to make us your enemies instead." "Please," Vexthara begged, her earlier arrogance completely gone. "We can negotiate. We can find a compromise." The ultimatum was a mistake. President Clark's smile was cold as winter. "Negotiate? You told Ambassador Collins that negotiation was impossible. You said humanity was too aggressive for unrestricted membership. Well, you were half right. We are aggressive. But now you're going to learn what unrestricted humanity looks like. What do you want from us?" asked Council member Zarthik, his crystalline form flickering with terror. "Nothing," the President replied. "We don't want anything from you anymore. We wanted partnership. We wanted cooperation. We wanted to build a better galaxy together. You decided that wasn't acceptable." Reports began flowing in from the other Council worlds. The pattern was the same everywhere. Human forces had appeared without warning, disabled all defenses, and taken control of government facilities within hours. Not a single human ship had been lost. Not a single alien world had been able to mount effective resistance. "How is this possible?" Vexthara whispered. 6 months ago, you were retreating in defeat. 6 months ago, we were giving you one last chance to treat us as equals, President Clark said. Instead, you celebrated what you thought was our surrender. You never bothered to ask yourselves why humans were being so cooperative. Admiral Harrison's voice came through the communication system from his flagship. All council worlds are secure, Madam President. Total casualties, minimal. Resistance, negligible. The alien military forces surrendered as soon as they realized the scope of our capabilities. Excellent, Admiral. Begin Phase 2. What is Phase 2? Nexvala asked with growing dread. Reconstruction? President Clark replied. To Council. Era is over. The galaxy will now be administered by humanity. Don't worry, we'll be much more efficient than you were. You can't rule the entire galaxy, Vextara protested. There are thousands of species, millions of worlds. We're not ruling them, we're managing them. There's a difference. Rule implies they have a choice in the matter. Captain Mitchell gestured for the council members to sit. The president has more to explain, President Clark continued. Every species that cooperated with the council's ultimatum will now live under human supervision. Your worlds will be protected, your people will be fed, your economies will be managed. But you will no longer make decisions that affect galactic civilization. And if we refuse, then you'll discover what happens to species that continue to. Threaten humanity, the choice is yours, but choose quickly. Other species are already requesting to join the new human administration voluntarily. Vextara looked around the room at her fellow council members. 6 months ago, they had been the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They had controlled trade, diplomacy, and military affairs across thousands of worlds. Now they were prisoners. In their own capital, watching humanity reshape the galaxy with casual efficiency. Why? She asked quietly. Why did you do this? President Clark's expression softened slightly, but her voice remained firm. Because you made it necessary. Humans prefer cooperation, but we will not accept subjugation. You could have had us as partners. Instead, you chose to have us as masters. The transmission ended, leaving the council members alone with their human guards. Outside, the work of building a new galactic order was already beginning. Humanity had tried diplomacy for decades. Now they would try something else. The age of human dominance had begun. And it all could have been avoided if the Council had simply remembered one basic truth. Some species you negotiate with, and some you leave alone. Humanity, they had learned too late, was definitely the latter.